Yvonne, one of the things that we want to talk about today is we want to present an unbelievable athlete that has been through a lot through the years and has been part of our community. It comes from a family of athletes. Evonne Britton has been able to capture the hearts of El Paso and endear herself to our community. So, as you guys know, I bring a lot of athletes and a lot of talent through El Paso, and we want to know a little bit about what it takes because on the other side of being an athlete, what we do is we want to make it good for the future athletes, the future kids that are desiring to be in the world of fitness in any arena. So today we're going to be talking with Evonne Britton, an unbelievable track star. She's going to be talking about specifics, and then we're going to be going a little bit about her story. So we want to know it's a little bit about her, and I'd like to introduce her. Hello, how are you doing, hon?
Hi, Dr. J. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you. One of the things that we want to do today is we want to bring an awareness of all the things you do and kind of like your life experiences. And one of the things is actually what got you into what you're doing and what is it? Tell me a little bit about who is Evonne Britton. A little bit. Just tell me a little bit. Go ahead.
A little bit about me. So let's see. So I first started just doing all types of sports when I was younger. We were a very sports-oriented academic family. So we would do all the sports from volleyball to basketball to like softball, football, and then track. I didn't really like fall in love with track until middle school. My coach just threw me in the hurdles. My dad actually volunteered me to do them. And then I just found out that I had this talent. So from there, I just dedicated. From then on, I was just a hurdler, I guess. And then from there, it's just history.
Oh, I'm going to stop you there, okay? Tell me a little bit about that moment that you actually decided to, or you found out that you were, who came up with this idea of you being a hurdler?
Well, my older brother ran track, so I would go with him to practices. He ran track as like a complement of his football, but I would always just run the sprints, but I wasn't really like that outstanding until that actual day at that meet when I had never done hurdles. I had never ran over a hurdle. So I really didn't know what was going to happen. So just, yeah.
Raw talent, huh? So dad said, what was it? How did dad get you out there?
Well, I didn't even know. He came up to me and was like, "Oh, Yvonne, you're doing the hurdles." He told me what I was doing. And I was like, "What?" I kind of didn't even want to do that. And I was kind of scared because, you can fall in the hurdles. Those are like obstacles that you have to jump over. And I never, ever had hurdled. So I was just like, when daddy says to do something, you do it. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to, try the hurdles.
I noticed that you talk about your dad and your mom in a very kind and endearing way. Tell me a little bit about your mom and your dad. How were they athletes at one time?
Yes, they are very supportive. They're like my backbone. They're the first people that I go to for advice or support. And they've always been there for everything, for anything I do, regardless if it's sports or whatever it is. They're my number one people that I know that I can count on, that they just mean so much to me. They've pushed us. They're not always the easiest. They're pretty strict, but I'm happy with the way that they have, taught me values because I still use those today. And I think that's why I've gone as far as I have, because I listen to what they've said, and I try to incorporate the lessons that they have told me.
Oh, you know what? Without asking too much, what's mom's name and dad's name?
So it's Darness and Edward Britton.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
So there are 5 of us total. So
and tell me a little bit about that, because I did know. I'm going to look at your website. I noticed that you come from a family of extremely highly talented, athletes. Tell me a little bit about them.
So my dad was he played football at the University of Maryland, where he met my mom, who was a cheerleader. She ran track and like did all kinds of sports as well. And so naturally, when they had kids, we got into sports as well. So my dad was our first coach. For my brother, who played football, he was my oldest brother. He was a superstar. People till this day still know his name, Edward Britton or Eddie Britton. He played football for Montwood, and he was like one of the number 1 recruits for colleges.
Wow.
So he was pretty talented.
How about the other ones?
Yeah, my older sister, she was also someone I looked up to. She was like a superstar, like for volleyball. I looked up to her for basketball. Before I really like got into my own, she was like my bodyguard. Like she was always like, just always have my back, had my back, and then was just an outstanding athlete all around. Very aggressive, like very fearless. Like I think I got that from her, just like not being afraid and to just like just do my thing. And then it was me. And then my younger brother, Elijah, I kind of like took him under my wing. And so when I became a hurdler, then I like taught him some things. And so then while I was at Penn State, actually, I had told my coach about my younger brother, who was a hurdler at Montwood at the time in high school. And so then my coach at Penn State, his brother, his older brother, was at Clemson University. And so since I was telling my coach about my brother, the Clemson University coach was interested in my younger brother. And so I was like, yeah, he knows some stuff because I like, would teach him and stuff. And so then he got recruited from my coach's brother to go to Clemson University. So that's Elijah. And then we have Ibrahim.
Wow.
He's the youngest. He was a little tough. He because he was the youngest, I guess we kind of like the younger ones kind of get away with things more. I think.
Yes.
So he kind of knew that, and he's very smart. So he kind of knew what he could do just to like get by in terms of like sports. But he was naturally like could have like surpassed everyone just with his natural ability. It's just he didn't have that work ethic.
What's his favorite thing to do?
His favorite thing to do. He likes a lot of things. He's very motivated. Anything he does, he can do it well. He was doing rap for a little bit. Then he's like now into like real estate and like his own type of like just entrepreneur type mindset.
Well, I got to tell you, we definitely have to have a podcast with your mom because one of the things is there's a thing I learned in my upbringing. Don't do anything bad in the streets because they're not going to talk about you. They're going to talk about me and my grandmother and my mom. That must be amazing having so many kids that have reached such high level of accolade. And that's something that mom and dad are very proud of, I'm sure. But we need to discuss that because there's a lot of people and a lot of parents want to know how to navigate life and early development to be able to have kids, mature in a proper way. Now, you did mention Penn State, okay? Now, that's like one of the greatest places to go in terms of all athletes. It's in terms of where we come from a wrestling family, and we know how difficult it is to be a wrestler at Penn State. So we can only imagine that the level of competition that you had prior to going in there. Tell me a little bit about your high school experience in track, because how old were you when your dad got you involved, and then at what grade were you in at that time?
I was in 8th grade, so it was my last year. I was like 13, I think that's how old I was.
About 13?
Yeah, about 13. And
in high school, how did you go through the process of going through track?
So in high school, I wanted to be a dancer as well. So my first 2 years, they were like kind of like just me doing everything. I was like doing basketball, I was doing volleyball. I was trying like to do dance, and then with my AP classes. So I had like a full schedule. It was pretty good because I had like my summer track coach who would help me sometimes, and then like my coach, the high school coach at Chapin, would also like, so they kind of worked as a team because they knew right away that like I was a talent as a freshman. I was like the first one to make it to states.
Wow.
So from there
Chapin?
I knew.
Really?
Yeah, at Chapin High School. So I was like, there was like a couple seniors. There was like maybe 5 of us freshman year. Or was I the only one? I think I was the only freshman that made it to states.
Isn't that amazing?
Nobody had made it.
So after that, and you competed through your 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year. How did that go each year?
Yeah, so all 4 years I was on varsity. The first year, I was like shocked. I didn't even really know that I was at that level to be able to run with the older people until like that was like me first realizing like, oh, okay, like I guess I am kind of fast. And then sophomore year, just every year I was kind of like getting a little bit better. So sophomore year I got a little bit better, and I was kind of like, okay, like going to practice, doing everything, but I was still doing other sports. So I was kind of still not, I was still a little bit spread out, but at the same time, it was good enough because I was just a sophomore.
Let me ask you this, because what I've noticed working with athletes is that each athlete develops at their right time. They ripen when there's a lot of effort put into them, education, a lot of teaching, a lot of I call it like mental preparedness that occurs in a family. But at one point, the child just engages and takes over, and actually, you see them get organized. And once they do that, I've found it for boys in wrestling, at least, it was somewhere around the 10th and 11th grade year. I saw that. I saw that also for the volleyball players as well, that they just engage in between 10th and 11th grade. It's like, I got this. Now I am in charge of this, and I'm going to be, a special athlete in what I do. At what point did you make that decision and say, you know what, this is my thing, and I'm going to go with this?
It had to be 11th grade, I was just going to say. So sophomore year, I was like, okay. Junior year, I started realizing that I needed to do certain things in order to be at the level that I wanted to be at. So I just started working a little bit harder because that was actually the year that I didn't make it to states. Actually, junior year, I was a little bit distracted and thought I could do everything. Like I got it. And then
So you ended up at regionals then?
Yeah, that was my last one because I choked.
Okay, let me ask you. Let's go there. Let's go there because a lot of people want to know, because it happens to everyone, whether through injury or through the dramas of navigating through the year. Something happens when you don't make it to the state level. How did you handle that? How was that? What happened?
Yeah, so at that time I think I was like in like a little like relationship or something, and then I also wanted to be on the dance team, and I was like hanging out with my friends. I was like kind of more involved in that. And so then I had a conversation with my dad, and I remember he just told me that, either you can have fun now or you can have fun later. So I understood that meant like just some sacrifices. And so it didn't really register until after I didn't make it. And I kind of was like, oh, okay, I see what he's saying. Like, I guess I wasn't working as hard or was distracted to where it kind of affected my track.
As a parent, I have a daughter. She's her name is America, and she's pretty talented and smart. And she just looks at me and just can't believe how much information is going in her head. And then she comes out and blurts out things. But I somehow felt like the village idiot around 13 or 14 years old, and that she's 13 or 14, 15. And as she's kind of coming around now, and I think we as parents, we realize that our kids change. Did you notice that you were changing emotionally and your values in terms of your work ethic as you went through high school?
Yes. Yeah. At some point, I felt like I knew everything and that I could handle everything.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh wait, they may know some things. They have been living longer than me. So let me listen. Even though sometimes it was hard, it was sometimes hard to bite. But I had to just trust that what they were telling me was
the right guidance.
For the best. Yeah, it was in my best interest. So
did you have to make a decision in terms of your sports? Like sometimes you do, let's say, track and volleyball. When did you actually engage in saying, I am going to focus on this one thing?
Right. So I was going to give myself 1 year actually. Senior year was the year that I was like all in, but junior year was when I was kind of like half in, half out, because I was still like trying to do everything that I wanted. And then I realized, well, let me just do what I know I'm good at and that I actually like, and that will take me where I want to be. So that was college. My goal was to get a scholarship and to go to states and to win. So from going to not going and not making it to like being all in every day, I knew what my goal was. So from like my diet to what I was eating to like, training as hard as I could, to going to the trainers and like doing the ice baths and like doing my schoolwork, making sure I was on top of that. Everything was kind of like in a row. My ducks were getting in a row. And then come around states, I was getting calls from colleges because they had been interested in me from my sophomore year. So
you get those phone calls around junior year.
Yeah,
I think you're
so
not supposed to, but you get them anyways. Or they talk to your parents in some place. Say, psst, hey, there's always those recruiters. But let me ask you this: at that moment in time, let's go back to that, because I really want to engage that moment in time, because we have a lot of athletes that want to change. And let me ask you this, your spirituality as well as your mind focus during that senior year. Tell me a little bit about what it took. And also, I'd like to know a little bit about your coaches. And because I believe that when you see an athlete like yourself winning, I mean, I got to tell you, when my kid would win, I won. I won. The whole town won. It was like we're all like, hey, you know what? We're all going crazy, and we're part of it. So in the front line, there's you, but behind you is a mural of hundreds of coaches and parents and teachers and spiritual guidance.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So yeah, it takes a lot of work. It's a team effort.